background and development. Okay, so here's how it all went down after the blockbuster success of Jaws, 1975, and its follow-up, Jaws 2, 1978. Universal Pictures was itching to keep the shark action going, but by the early 80s, let's be real, the whole monster shark thing was starting to feel played out. So, to make Jaws 3 stand out, the studio decided to hop on the wild 3D movie trend that was making a comeback in the early 80s. Yeah, it was huge in the 1950s too. Now, here's a twist. At one point, producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown actually floated the idea for a full-on spoof called Jaws 3: People Zero. It would have been a National Lampoon-style comedy, totally making fun of the franchise. Imagine that! But Universal said nope and went for a straight-up sequel, but with the 3D gimmick as the hook. Plot summary: Jaws 3D takes place years after those first two shark showdowns. This time, we're following Mike Brody, Dennis Quaid, who's the eldest son of Chief Brody, you know, Roy Scheider's character from the first movies. Mike now works as an engineer at SeaWorld Orlando, and his girlfriend Kay, Bess Armstrong, is a marine biologist. The action kicks off during SeaWorld's big grand opening of its new Undersea Kingdom attraction. Of course, things go sideways. A great white shark sneaks into the lagoon. The team thinks they score a win by catching the beast, only to realize later they just bagged the baby. The real trouble is Mama. The gigantic 40-foot mama shark isn't happy and lets loose on the park. Everything leads up to the famous scene where the massive shark smashes through the underwater control room window, all slow-mo and in full cheesy 3D glory. It's, unforgettable. Fun fact, Roy Scheider wasn't having any of it after his Jaws 2 experience, so the Brody parents are totally missing from this one. Direction and production. Joe Alves stepped up to direct Jaws 3D. He was actually the production designer on the first two movies and even second unit director on Jaws 2. This was his first and last time in the director's chair. They actually shot a lot of the movie at the real SeaWorld in Orlando, which Universal partly owned at the time. Hello, cross-promotion. The team had high hopes for the special effects and 3D, but honestly, traditional effects, miniatures and compositing just didn't mix well with 3D, so you get some legendary awkwardness in the final product. Release and box office: Jaws 3D hit theaters on July 22nd, 1983. Here's how it did. Cost about $18 million, box office around $87 million worldwide. Not bad, but nowhere near the mega profits of Jaws, $476 million, or Jaws 2, $208 million. Critical reception: critics, yeah, they weren't fans. Most thought the story was thin, the acting was kind of flat, and the 3D effects were more goofy than scary. Roger Ebert gave it just 1 star and called it a cheap gimmick. Variety slammed the weak plot and lack of suspense. Even Dennis Quaid later joked that he barely remembered making the movie because he was high on cocaine through the entire shoot. Yikes. Still, there's a weird kind of love out there for the movie's campy 3D moments. The floating shark head scene at the end is legendary in the so bad it's good department. Legacy: the flop of Jaws. 3D almost killed the franchise, but Universal kept going anyway with Jaws: The Revenge, 1987, which is, not remembered fondly. The random 3D gimmick totally dates the film. Put it right up there with Friday the 13th Part 3 and Amityville 3D as a snapshot of that early 80s trend. Every now and then you'll catch it on 3D Blu-ray or at special screenings, just for the retro camp factor. Fun facts: the mama shark in this one is the biggest in the series, like 35-40 feet long. Leah Thompson filmed her scenes just before she landed her iconic role in Back to the Future. If you watch it in 2D, the 3D effects look extra weird, especially the floating fish head. Steven Spielberg, yeah, he stayed far away from this one, didn't want anything to do with the sequels. Bottom line, Jaws 3D, 1983, tried to give the series new life with 3D magic. But let's be honest, It's remembered more for its ridiculous visuals and goofy SeaWorld plot than for actual thrills. Still, it made some money and has that cult following thanks to all the over-the-top weirdness. Want more deep dives into wild 80s movies? Subscribe to Movies of the 80s.